Hello there, and welcome back to Hydroponics Daily, your go-to podcast for everything soilless cultivation. I'm your host, Dr. Russell Sharp, the founder of Utrema Limited and the inventor of liquid gold fertilizer, or as it's called in the US, gold leaf. And the reason I mention that is because today I was thinking about the weight of a hydroponic unit, and where having a lightweight hydroponic unit might be an advantage, and where having a lightweight hydroponic unit might be a disadvantage. Because with gold leaf, or liquid gold as it's called in the UK, you can potentially only have one tank or even no tank at all. If you combine that with an NFT system with no grow media, then potentially that is an extremely light hydroponic system. And that could be an advantage in certain situations, could be a disadvantage in others. So I wanted to go through some of those potential advantages. So, what are the potential advantages of a lightweight system? Well, when portability is a good thing to have, or easy relocation. Think about classrooms or educational setups where they might be moved around frequently. You might bring a hydroponic unit in from a greenhouse into a practical room, practical laboratory in a university, for example, or you might need to move it around a school, near to a window, into the greenhouse, and then back into a classroom, things like that. Glass houses probably not very safe for children to be around, for example. So being lightweight on wheels is a potentially really good thing to have. And weight is the last thing you consider when you set up your hydroponic unit. You're looking for other factors. So it's an interesting one to talk about, because it's just the sort of thing you're left with at the end, and you might actually think, oh God, this is a big disadvantage. Imagine you're in a non-permanent residence, or you're renting for a short period of time. You might want to move your hydroponic unit around. Perhaps you're a student at university and you want to go back to your parents' house in the holidays. Then having an easily movable system is another reason. Or if you're a seasonal grower, perhaps you're in a greenhouse in the summer and in a grow room in the winter, then potentially having a lightweight system is of an advantage. What about a rooftop or a balcony? There's certain weight limits on roofs. In an apartment balconies, you can't have certain weights, and a lightweight system with one tank and an FT system, a small tank, could reduce structural stress. You often see issues with people putting too much weight on their balcony or their roofs, and they cave in and things like this. So there's a potential use. And then obviously vertical farming, high stack system, tall towers. The weight avoids them tipping over or overloading, and they're easier to mount as well. Okay. What about mobile farms? There's an option of like disaster relief, growing hydroponic fresh vegetables for refugees and people in disasters. Or what about on a cruise ship, fresh produce for high-end cruise ships where they want the freshest vegetables, and then maybe on a cruise of the Nordic fjords or somewhere else where there's not easily available fresh produce. So there's another option. And then lightweight might be just good because you would want to limit the support structure, the stress on the system. Especially useful for improvised systems and projects and temporary installations where you don't want them. Okay. And then obviously another use where lightweight will be useful, NASA, space missions, controlled environments, things like that, where every kilogram saved matters. And then obviously hobby indoor growers reduce the risk of damaging floors during water changes if you haven't got massive tanks. So where that's the advantages of having a lightweight system, where could there be disadvantages, or where could heavyweight systems have an advantage? Well, when we think of deep water culture, those really big, almost bigger than an Olympic swimming pool type greenhouse DWC systems that they have mainly in America, thermal stability is a massive win there. The heat mass effect, large heavy water volumes, and maintain stable root temperatures and help buffer against rapid spikes in heat that you might get in a greenhouse, and reduces the need for chillers or heaters, for example. And a very heavy bottom to a hydroponic system could provide stability against tipping. tall vertical towers or trellised plants. If you've got a trellis plant like a tomato or a cucumber, having a heavy base will prevent that from tipping. Counter to that, in a sort of, go back to the cruise ship, having a big tank is obviously, in a storm, that's going to slosh around. So an NFT system is probably better than a DWC on a cruise ship for that. You don't want sloshing around DWC, do you? So yeah, there's an option. Where else might having a heavyweight system be an advantage? A heavy system could help dampen vibrations. So a heavy reservoir, dampen vibrations from air and water pumps and flues going in and out. And so essentially could be useful where vibrations are a big concern. And security and theft resistance. If it's got heavy fixtures, then prevents easy theft. People can't just run away with it. And that's a big issue for a lot of hydroponic growers with expensive kit. And then heavy systems with lots of water in both the tank and the reservoirs would help with mitigating problems where a pump fails and things like this. If your water supply went down for a day or two, then you've got a massive reservoir. Whereas if your water supply was cut off for a day or two and you're in an NFT system with a tiny tank, you're a bit screwed unless you can sort of go in your car and go and get some more water. So there's another advantage there of a heavyweight big tank system. So that's been Hydroponics Daily for today, talking about the weight of your hydroponic system, a factor that is very rarely considered during setup, but actually can be really important. And, it's taken me till February the 28th to discuss it on Hydroponics Daily. So definitely not one that's on the top of my radar, but certainly one to consider. That's been Hydroponics Daily for today. If you found this interesting, it sparked some ideas, then let me know if you've got any comments and leave a review on Apple Podcasts, because that helps the podcast tremendously. If you're interested in trying out liquid gold, if you're in the UK, then check out utrema.co.uk. And if you're in the US, check out Gold Leaf. It's fantastic fertilizer, gets you from seed to harvest with just one bottle, whether you're in hydroponics or growing in soil or grow media. And what else can I say? Yeah. I'll see you again tomorrow. Thanks for listening. Goodbye.